Smile. Is that? Smile, girl. Huh? Hi, everybody. My name is Devia.
And I'm Raghav.
We are the representative of JSRP tutors, and I've been teaching since the past 14 years. And I have with me my son Raghav, who's been a teacher with us since the past 4 years. Raghav, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Raghav. I'm a freshman at UCSD, and I'm majoring in data science. I've been teaching for a few years now, but this summer is the first summer I really start to kick it up. I teach math and computer science primarily, but I also teach public speaking as well.
And he's been tutoring with bright kids. We work for online SAT, ACT prep company, and he's been working with them since the past 2 years as a student teacher. And first he volunteered, now he was hired by them to teach as well. So as a parent, I mean, and I would relate this as a parent also. Application process is a tough one. It is time consuming, and it is also a labor of love, because you want your kids to do the best they can, and a dream college becomes like a very high priority in the lives of not only the kids but also the parents. So yeah, so Raghav went through the rigmarole of applying to the UCs this year, the last year rather, and so he's gotten to his one of his dream colleges, right? So, and he's very happy, obviously God's grace, and we're very happy for him. And so we thought, when we were doing this, why not we put together whatever we have taught all through, and see if we can go ahead and you know encapsulate for you what has he learned in his process. And the college app process starts actually very early in life, in terms of if you were to see the preparation it needs for you to be a good student. A good student is always, when I say a good student, which I mean that really somebody who, specifically in English, somebody who can go ahead and express themselves, their inner thoughts, in a way that it is something which speaks volumes to the listener or the reader. So that starts from a very young age in life, and that's why I keep telling everybody that though we as Indians, we as Desis are very motivated to work on subjects like math and science, we often relegate English to the background, and which I feel is not the right way to go. Not only because I'm an English language tutor, but because those foundational skills come to fore when it comes to applying to colleges. When the colleges come knocking, you have to be ready with that, um, you know, set of foundational rules, ingrained in you. When you go to college, they will be taking English up. They will be, um, you know, working in that communication medium forever in their lives. So be it an email, be it anything, it needs expression. So start early. I mean, start when they're in elementary, start when they're in middle school, when they're, in the earlier form of their high school. Start early working on writing skills. Start early on laying that foundation, so that when it comes to those college apps, they're able to, go ahead and as they say, the world's their oyster. And it actually makes a huge amount of difference. I mean, you don't have to hire a counselor per se to get this task done. The child can do it. And then if you have really good friends, in our case, it was Neeraji and Manisha, whose kids really helped us to refine our approach. He wrote his college apps, and then they helped him to refine the approach even further. You want to go ahead and give a shout out to Udit Bhaiya, who really helped. We owe it to a lot to him that I being a tutor for so many years, I've been coaching him, mentoring him. I still wanted him to understand from somebody who had already seen the process and gone ahead and worked upon it. And they gave their critique. They mentored him into through that process, and that really helped. Though he was ready, he was primed, but the icing on the cake was these kids who helped him out to refine his skills. You don't need a college counselor. I mean, you don't need a counselor or a specific person to write this for you. You can do your own, and Raghav's here to just add to it what his process of writing was, and that's what he wants to share. Go take it over.
So on the UC application, there's a few major parts. The first part is that it's open from August until November, August 1st to November 31st, and you can submit it starting November 1st. It's pretty time consuming. There's a lot of different parts that need to be put into place, so you really need to start early. As soon as the application opens, you should get started and fill everything out. And the UC is known for its holistic review. To get into college, it's more than just your GPA and your test scores. Even though your GPA and your test scores are the most important factors, there are 12 other factors that the UC also takes into consideration when applying to colleges, when getting into college. These 14 factors are, the official ones are, the first most important one is your GPA, and the second is your test scores, your SAT, your ACT. The third is the performance and number of courses and the number of courses beyond the minimum A to G requirements. The A to G requirements are California's graduation requirements. And so they're basically seeing how many other courses you've taken beyond the bare minimum and how well you've done in those other courses. The fourth point is the UC approved honors courses and advanced courses, meaning AP courses. These are courses that are more difficult than normal courses that UC assigns extra weightage and extra ability to succeed to. The fifth one is the eligibility in local context, or the ELC. Effectively, this is a guarantee that if you are the top 9% of California students, which isn't really a hard thing to do, you will be guaranteed a spot at some UC in some major. It may not be the UC that you want, but it may not be the major that you want, but you will be guaranteed a spot at least some UC. The sixth point is the quality of your senior year program of study. This is effectively to make sure that you don't slack off in your senior year and just take easy courses. Instead, they want you to challenge yourself a little bit, like take 3 or 4 APs, and make sure that you're still challenging yourself and doing difficult work, even when it doesn't really count for your GPA for UCs. The seventh is the academic opportunities available in your high school. For example, let's say your high school only had offered 2 APs in your first 2 years, and while some other high school offered 5. The UC will not penalize you for this, as they get information from each of the colleges about how many courses are offered, what kind of courses, and which courses, and they use this information to make sure that they're getting the best from each school, no matter the differences between the schools. Number 8 is an outstanding performance in one or more academic subject areas. For example, if you won awards in doing research for science, something in the medical field, or something in a field that you're planning on majoring in, the UCs will take that into consideration and will factor it in to your view of whether you get into the college or not. Ninth is your achievements in special projects, for example, out of school projects, competitions, these sort of things. And number 10 is the improvement in academic performance. Let's say you had a bad first year or a bad first 1.5 years, but your GPA slowly improved and your grades per semester slowly got better. The UCs will also take that into consideration because they like to see the upward trend. Number 11 are special talents, achievements, and awards. This is where competitions come in. If you're able to get a nationally ranked debate, for example, if you get a nationally ranked placement, special awards in the field that you're majoring in, and things like that, the UCs will also take that into consideration. Number 12 is participation in educational preparation programs, things like Cosmos, things like summer programs at other schools, other colleges, things like that. And 13 would be academic accomplishment in light of life experiences. For example, let's say there was a tragedy in the family and you still end up doing well. Because of that, you can write that in your UC application that despite that I had this in my family, And if your grades are still strong and they can verify that, they will also take that into location and into consideration. The 14th point is geographic location. This really factors into two reasons. One, if you're in state or out of state for California, because California residents pay a lot less than non-California residents, and also the competitiveness of your school district and the competitiveness of your school. For example, Irvine is a notoriously competitive school district and a high achieving one. So its geographic location would be weighted much higher than someplace that is not nearly as competitive. So these are the 14 factors, and this is a college roadmap that we have come up with to help you get ready for college and be prepared in the best way for your application as well.
All right, take a look at the comments. Comments. All right, if you guys can see us, just give us a comment saying that. We can see ourselves. So yeah, thank you so much. If you can just go ahead and comment, please. Okay, so the roadmap, like I said, Raghav has lived this roadmap, and Raghav has gone through. And high school, guys, is a game you have to play very carefully. The 4 years of you when you're there, every year matters. Every year is a step in the right direction. So Raghav's prepared this little slide on what he thought was like a little bit of a summary of every year has been there, and everything mattered because this is where he laid a foundation to what he's become now. So he's been able to, and there are many kids in IUSD he tutors on a daily basis. He teaches them math. Which level math are you teaching, Raghav?
I'm teaching all the way from pre-algebra all the way to calculus BC.
And the only reason he could do that is because everyday basis he worked on the concepts. Everyday basis, every year basis, every month basis, he had he had objective rules he had to goals he had to achieve, and it was not a day's process. I mean, when I see him now, God's grace, I'm very proud of him when he does a good job at a class he's teaching. And I really thank, people who've been behind this, the teachers at school, the tutors we had during this time. And, I really feel get the help your child needs. Sometimes they're way over their head in waters which are uncharted for them, and sometimes because we are new to this country, we're doing this for the very first time. We are it kind of is we're learning as we go. So get them the help they need, and so that they can go ahead and perform the way they need to and can get to whatever they have set as an objective for themselves.
So for freshmen, it's best for freshmen to start deciding on a major. Next, it's a good idea for them to build strong relationships with their teachers and their counselors. UCs don't allow you to submit letters of recommendation, but if you're applying to non-UC colleges, they will require at least one teacher recommendation letter and one counselor recommendation letter. So it's best to have teachers that you know and you can easily ask for these letters of recommendation. The next thing you want to do is to chart your upcoming courses that you'll be taking in the future, and maybe plan out 2 or 3 years or your whole high school experience in advance. So you know what your goal is and how you're going to achieve that and what courses you're going to take to show that you have mastery in whatever your major is. Also, you need to work on your learning strategies and study skills. That's the only way you're really going to find success, especially in higher grades where the workload becomes tougher and the amount of work that you do every day becomes more. Finally, make sure you focus at least somewhat on extracurriculars and voluntary work. The California high schools recommend 24 hours of voluntary work a year. And getting these voluntary hours is pretty important because on your transcript, every semester, every year after you do that, you'll have a little star that signifies that you've done your voluntary work for that year. It's a maximum of 25 per year. So even if you have more than 25, you can't submit them all at once. You can only submit them spread out throughout your years. So for sophomores, they need to manage their grades and guard their GPA because sophomore year is the first year that your GPA actually really matters for colleges. They also should start preparing for the SAT and ACT because the best time to take that is either at the end of sophomore year or at the start of junior year. They should also find or create leadership opportunities, join clubs, get leadership there, create organizations out of school where you can be a leader in, and join maybe ASB, the student body, the student government at the school. All these things that they need to show that they are a leader and they do fulfill those holistic qualities that the UCs are looking for. They also need to design a college list with 4 main types of college. Dream colleges, which would be very difficult to get into, but the colleges that you want the most. Reach colleges, which are colleges that are slightly a bit more difficult than you can make with your current stats. Target colleges, which make sense given your current stats and where you're standing and what you want. And safety colleges, which are colleges below your level that you apply to just in case. The most important thing to do in sophomore year is to really challenge yourself in the courses that you're taking and think about your future. At around freshman or sophomore year, you'll almost always be able to petition your school to allow you to take community college courses over the summer. They're almost entirely free. All you have to do is pay maybe $7 a semester for a lab fee, depending on the class.
And then you get to go to the high school. Just explain the process of how you apply for it. You take the form.
Well, applying is different for each school, and it's different for the courses that you want to take. For example, in my freshman year, I took an HTML course that was sanctioned by my school. So the application process was pretty easy. All I had to do was take a form, fill it to my school, and then we went to IVC and I submitted the form. In my junior and sophomore and junior years, though, I took courses that my high school did not offer, but the community college did. In sophomore year, I took Java and C++ as a course, as those 2 courses. So I had to go to my school, petition them by explaining that we did not offer these courses at school. And I had to kind of convince the teacher, the student counselor there to allow me to take the course, which I'd then take the IVC and fill out there as well. And I also have to explain again that my school does not offer this course, which is why I want to take it. Junior year is a little bit different because I wanted to take a course that was theoretically offered at my school. I wanted to take chemistry, but my school did offer AP Chem the next year. So I needed to convince them in a different manner by saying that the school had barred me from taking that AP exam and that AP test because then I would be taking 7 AP classes and the school only gave a maximum of 6. So I was able to convince my school and I was able to convince the college, and that allowed me to take the course that I wanted for chemistry over the summer as well. These community college courses have twofold. One thing that they do is when it comes to college, they give you college credit. And also what they allow you to do is they allow you to pad your resume for college, pad your transcripts, and increase your sort of GPA. Even though the GPAs are not the same, they will take your college GPA into account as well, your community college one. For juniors again need to make sure their GPA is high. Sophomore year and junior year are the 2 years that most count for your GPA for colleges. Juniors need to take the SAT or ACT at the start of the year. That's the best time to take it because later in the year it'll be more swamped with work. But on the SAT and ACT, there are some changes coming to the UCs and how they do them. So I'm going to hold off on that. I'll talk about that a bit later. But one thing that isn't changing are SAT subject tests. So apart from just the SAT, which is also known as the SAT-1, also smaller tests about specific subjects. The most important being for any STEM major, mathematics 2. This test is taken in junior year because the course material covered then goes up to pre-calculus and a little bit of calculus in the form of limits. But by the end of junior year, you should be able to take this test pretty well, and if not, at the start of senior year. You should start to build your college resume and start working on your college essays. College essays take a lot of time to perfect, so you really do need to start early. In my high school, we ended up starting in the last 2 months of our junior year, and then we carried that over to the start of our senior year as well. And for seniors, despite GPA not really being that much of importance for seniors, they do still need to keep their grades at a reasonable level. Colleges will not like it if they see you getting good grades and then in senior year having a sudden drop off. And if you do that, if that happens to you, they may rescind your application, meaning that even if you get in, you'll be taken out. Another thing to make sure is that you're also challenging yourself even in senior year. Don't just completely take easy classes. Make sure you're still challenging yourself and showing to colleges that you still really do care about your academic development, despite it not really counting for colleges that much.
Personally.
Personally, what I did is I took 6 AP classes my senior year for two main reasons. One is that I went to Portola High School and I was part of the first graduating class, meaning that a lot of the courses that I wanted to take weren't available at that time. For example, things like AP Chem, AP Psychology, things that are normally offered to sophomores and juniors in other colleges were only available in my senior year. A lot of an influx of AP courses came over in my senior year, so I decided to take as many as I could.
And that was very advantageous because we were very lucky to have that kind of school system where he was getting what he wanted to. So very timely. I mean, in the senior year, where the pressure is not that much. Otherwise, had it been, he could have managed. I'm sure everybody else can almost manage throughout the 10th and 11th grade too. But I think, won't you think that because it was the 12th grade, it was kind of a little bit easier for you because you weren't taxed with a lot of burden on your shoulders as such?
Yeah. After about November 31st is when I submitted my UC application. I was able to focus almost entirely on school at that point, and that made my classes pretty easy, well, comparatively to previous years, because I only really had to focus on them. Senior year, there's a lot less pressure on you to do other things, because once you submitted your application, it doesn't matter anymore.
And the SAT scores and ACT scores are locked in,
Yeah,
which ways.
and at that point, you should have taken your SAT and ACT. If you haven't, it is best to take it at the start of the year. You do need to take it by December.
And the subject test too.
And your subject test as well. Another thing that's important is not really for UCs, but for other colleges to get your teacher recommendations and your counselor recommendation if the college you're applying to requires them. It's also necessary to apply to colleges on time. Do not forget the deadlines. The deadlines are hard, are completely set, not necessarily difficult, but they're completely set. And if you even do a second late, you won't be able to apply to the college. And of course, finish your college essays by the due date and submit them and just wait and pray.
Wait and pray, and then get them, like I said right in the beginning, go ahead and ask people who've gone through it, kids who've gone through it, to kind of take a look at it. People who teach, they can look at it, just add there. But the whole thing depends upon you. It should be your statement. It shouldn't be written by somebody else. It should be written by you, because colleges are very well versed with this process. They get to know if there's somebody else writing, if there's somebody else who has written something and polished it off for you. It's very, very easily discernible. So let the child write, but get the kind of polish it needs by asking whoever you can. We were very lucky to have people in our lives who could help us, and thankfully, yes. So and another thing, again, that's what I said. Raghav started working on this since he was a child. His SAT essay and ACT essay were 100%. They are graded by 4 graders, as in 2 for SAT and 2 for ACT, and he got 100% for each one of them. So what I'm trying to say is I'm not saying that Raghav has, he's the only victorious kid out there. I'm sure there are many of kids who would have managed to do that, but the only common thing I would think which would be amongst these people who've scored a good grade on the SAT, ACT essay and have written good essays for college, is the fact that they have the foundational skill. So I keep insisting, please get your child the required writing or grammar or reading or whatever help there is. Even if you see them that they need some enhancement or if they need some support, get that on time, get that at the very nascent stage, very beginning of their school life. So by the time they reach this particular age and stage, they are good to go. Yeah, that's great.
So speaking of the UC essays, let's talk about them for a bit. There's 8 questions for the UCs, and you need to choose 4. It's a maximum of 350 words, which doesn't sound like that much, which is the main problem. 350 words is a hard limit. And you need to make sure that your essays are, you choose your language very carefully and you can fit within that 350 words, because if you get one out, it's the whole essay is effectively in the trash. Every UC question is given equal weightage, meaning it doesn't matter if you choose one or three or two or five. They won't really care too much as long as your essay itself is pretty good. And you want to choose questions that best represent who you are and your life experiences. There's some questions that wouldn't be recommended for people or certain majors based on what the actual prompt is and how to actually answer them. And again, as my mom mentioned, you have to write the essays yourself. Do not ask for help with the essays, but you can ask for help with editing and finding out weak points in your essays and shoring them up to make them stronger. Let's talk about the first question. The first question for the UC prompts are: describe an example of your leadership experience in which you have positively influenced others, helped resolve disputes, or contributed to group efforts over time. So when I first started writing this, the thing I used to brainstorm is to list the traits of a good leader. And then I asked myself, have I ever displayed any of these traits in my life? And I wanted to write about how this leadership that I had and achieved one of my goals. For example, I did write this essay, and what I wrote about was teaching and the benefits I achieved from it for the past few years, and how the traits of a good leader really apply to teaching as a whole, and how teaching helped me achieve the goal that I wanted, was to give back to the community that really helped me out. Question 2 for the UCs is on creativity and the fact that every person has a creative side and it can be expressed in many ways: problem solving, original and innovative thinking, and artistically, to name a few. And then you want to describe how you express this creative side. As they mentioned, it's more than just your passion for music, theater, and stuff like that. They also mentioned problem solving. So if there's ever a problem where your imagination and intuition really helped guide you to the solution, that is one of the ways that you can answer this prompt. Or you can take the other route and talk about your passion for the arts. So for this one, I also did this one, and I talked specifically about visual arts and the websites I designed and related to that, and also the posters and the flyers that I designed.
So I'm just going to interrupt right here. So the reasons why he could do all this was, we were very lucky to have community support. We went ahead and, yeah, we went ahead and we we went ahead and volunteered for every opportunity. So he could, the course he took from the HTML course and the web designing course, all that when he learned from, he also took classes from India and from the community college. We went ahead and we offered our services to whoever needed a website design. He volunteered 100%. I mean, we're very lucky to have the umbrella of OCIW and then, just doing flyers and anybody amongst the Desi community, the ladies I'm connected to because of OCIW, if they were, they said, hey, can you tell us who can design a website? We were there. Raghav and I were there saying, hey, you know what, we could do this. It's going to be free of cost because it's absolutely voluntary work. And at the end of it, we just requested that, could you give us, just a letter saying that he has volunteered for you, or could he just mention his name right under designed by Raghav? And so, just kind of, creating. And then in that bargain, I mean, I think it was a win-win for us because he got to, do better and better. So he designed my website as well, just RP Tutors. And then he got better at that and he served the community. And the fact that it was done with, one, obviously the application approach, but it also inculcated in him a feeling of service. So we've continued to do that long beyond the voluntary work requirements have finished, but he's continuing to do that, and I feel it's something we were very lucky to find, all thanks to OCIW, Seemaji, and people who trusted us with it. I mean, he was just like in high school, but they trusted him with a design of their website, which is a huge deal. So thank you to all these people who went ahead and trusted him. So there are many, so I just want to name all of them, but thank you so much. And you can create your own voluntary responsibility opportunities. Ask Ask around, always and always ask around. Say that, my son wants to do this, my daughter wants to do this. Can they volunteer? And, sometimes you do hit the jackpot. Yeah. But
The third question for the UC application is on your talents and skills and how you've developed and demonstrated that talent over time. Uh, what I do for this one, I didn't actually write this essay, but what I would do is first I'd list talents and skills that I've acquired, and I want to explain my passion for that talent or skill, how I actually started to decide to continue with it, and then I'd explain what I've done to continue and improve my skills in that field, and show how that talent has helped you in your life. I think this is a great question to start talking about your major. If you're interested in computer science, like I was, uh, you can say you can say things like your passion for computer science, your passion for web design, app design, game design, all these things. You can talk about what you've done to improve your skills in this field. Maybe taking courses at community college, taking AP courses at your school, working outside of school on it, internships, all of these things. They all really help in showing that this is your greatest talent and skill. And by relating it back to your major, you show that, hey, I've worked on this major before, and here's what I've done in the past. Question four is there's two parts to this question, and it's an or question, so you only need to do one or the other. But the question is describe how you've taken advantage of a significant educational opportunity or worked to overcome an educational barrier you have faced. You only need to do one. You can either do an educational or opportunity or an educational barrier. There is no need to do both. I don't know much about the barrier part, but for the opportunity, what I did write is taking community college courses, finding internships, summer programs like Cosmos or at other colleges. All of these things show how you went out of your way to improve your skills. Again, probably you're going to be writing this for your major. If there's a program at your school that allows you to, I know Beckman High School allows you to do something like you can co-enroll in college and get your associate's degree, I think, at the end of your high school experience. Something like that would be an example because you've gone out of your way to improve your work and to improve the quality of education you're getting in your major field.
and just in case we get disconnected, guys, we'll be back again. Just in case we get disconnected. Okay.
Question five is describing the most significant challenge you've faced and the steps you've overcome through which you've overcome this challenge and how it's affected your academic achievement. So earlier, when I was talking about the 14 factors, I mentioned one of the factors being the difficult life experience. That through even though that you had academic achievement, these can be a variety of things. I've seen essays on culture differences, on when you move to a new place and it's entirely different and you struggle for a bit, but then you improve based on your resilience and your work ethic. Second one would also be a death in the family that personally affected you, grandparents, or someone close to you that really showed that would really hit you hard, but then you were able to overcome it again through resilience and perseverance. But the most important things you need to mention is why was this challenge significant to you? How did it affect you? And after overcoming it, what did you learn? The learning factor is what the UCs really want to see, no matter for the essay. If you can relate it to what you've learned, that is the mark of a really good essay. If you can relate your experiences, your challenges, your achievements, all of this to what you've learned, whether that's academic or not, the UCs will like your essay a lot more. Question six is think about an academic subject that inspires you. Describe how you further this interest inside and outside of the classroom. In my opinion, this question is really, really similar to question four. So I choose that you only really do one of them. But again, this is an excellent opportunity to talk about your major. I did this essay and I talked about how I've been doing computer science and computer science things since I was very young, and that I've been building websites out of school. I've been building apps out of school. I've been making all of these things out of school, these programs. And apart from that, I'm also taking internships. I'm also volunteering. I'm also taking community college courses. All of these things that show how this academic subject inspired me and what I've done to really further this interest. And again, what I've learned from all the way out, from going out of my way to continue working on it.
Yeah, and we keep insisting, and he keeps telling you about what he's done because eventually it is what it is, as in what the child has done throughout will definitely showcase itself. Let them write, let them give it the best, um, you know, from the heart statements, and you're good to go. You don't have to get anybody else to write. And just in case anybody locally who wants to, or anywhere, wants Raghav to see and give his 2 cents worth, and if you guys want me to take a look at it, please feel free to contact us. There's no charge, obviously. This is in the service of the community we live in, and we owe this to all you guys, who've given him the same kind of help. All right, Raghav.
Question 7 for the UCs is, what have you done to make your school or community a better place? This is where, if you have a lot of volunteering hours, you can really show that off. Let's say you've done a lot of teaching, you've done a lot of peer tutoring, and that's really helped your school by making it, by increasing the academic standard for a few other students that you've worked with. Let's say you joined student government at your school and you worked with the school to create an initiative to help out, let's say, for like the canned food drive, all of these things. You can also mention that. And again, you need to do really 2 things or 3 things to make this a successful essay. One is identifying in which way your community matters to you, and why your community matters to you can be things like the people in it, the opportunities it's provided you with, all of these things. You need to mention why does the community matter to you enough that you went and made the decision to make it a better place. You also want to talk about the positive impact you've had on the community, and how your change really actually changed the community or your school. And again, as I'm going to say it again and again, you need to really mention what you've learned, what this impact that you had on the community really had on you, your academic achievement, or who you are as a person. Again, the UCs really want you to show what you have learned from your experiences.
This is where
So it isn't really a rap sheet of all your it's not really a brag sheet of all how good you are. It's also showing how much work that they do to help out and how it's really impacted you as a person. I'll answer questions at the very end. Sorry, I can't really see the Facebook chat right now. But if you do have questions, I promise I'll get to them at the end. But for now, I'm just going to continue. So question 8, this is the general question. You can write about just about anything. And the question itself is, beyond what has already been shared in your application, what do you believe makes you stand out as a strong candidate for admissions to the University of California? You really can write about anything. You can brag about anything, any achievements you've had. And what's important to notice is that, again, your goal is to show how this impacted you. Like, for example, when I was young, I've moved around a total of 10 times to 4 or 5 different states.
Around the whole
Around the US.
the US, up and down the length and breadth.
Yeah, all around the US. And I really wanted to show how this has impacted me and changed me as a person. Like, because of it, I make friends quicker. I have good people skills. I talk pretty well, and all of these things. And
Don't be shy. Say as like a brag. It sounds like a brag, but couch it in humble terms. Obviously, you don't want to be in your face kind of attitude. But yeah, I've seen those statements of his. I've worked on those statements with him, so I know for a fact it works. And again, the honesty of it is what really appeals to the grader at the end of it, or the person who's deciding upon your admission. It has to be very honest. It has to come from your heart.
And again, the most important thing is to identify what you've learned, how this has impacted you. That's the most important thing for all of these questions. I'll repeat it again and again. Make sure that you can show what you've learned and how everything has impacted you. I mentioned earlier that there were some changes coming to the SAT and ACT for the UCs, largely due to the coronavirus pandemic, but also due to the fact that the UCs kind of want to be their own entity. The UCs have gone test optional, or they were test optional for fall 2021 and fall 2022 admissions, basically this year and next year. And basically that means that you don't have to submit an SAT if you don't want to, but they won't penalize you if you don't. They'll take it into account if you do, but they won't penalize if you don't. This is for current seniors and current juniors, most of which who have already taken the SAT or ACT, and they want to really recognize the fact that they have already put in this work. For 2023 and 2024, the UCs are tested blind. meaning that you're not allowed to submit them in consideration for an admission, but it's possible that certain scholarships could be given to you, certain course placements, all of these things based on your SAT and ACT scores, but they will not take them into consideration for your admissions. These are current freshmen and current sophomores who may be hit harder by the pandemic and may not have taken the test yet. But currently, the UC's next goal is to make their own standardized test to replace the SAT or ACT, and they've already started this. Their goal is to be done with this by January of 2021, and they're trying to create a new test that allows you to better really show that you mastered the UC concepts. That's different than the SAT and ACT. In fact, their goal is to entirely eliminate the SAT and ACT by 2025, and instead replace it with their own UC endorsed test. But if it isn't ready by then, they will keep the SAT and ACT. But that's 5 years in the future, and it's almost a guarantee that they'll have their own test by then. Finally, what's important is that they are eliminating the writing portion of the test. The essay portion is now gone. And it's just from now on, for this year and from future, it'll just be reading, grammar, math, and science if you're taking the SAT.
Writing still.
The grammar portion will remain, but the essay portion will be removed.
And essay up till now was, it was set to be optional, but most of the students ended up taking it because, eventually, you want your writing skills to be graded too. And this doesn't take away, though, from writing. You still are going to be writing your UC application essays. You'll be writing other application essays. Still doesn't take away from the fact that you have to have those writing skills, especially not only to get inside the college, but once you're there, able to sustain yourself with the kind of rigors a college education would put forth.
So this is how it used to work. This is until this week. This was the general idea. But just this week, on Tuesday, actually, what ended up happening is that the UC system got sued by the American Children with Disabilities Foundation that argued that for this, children with disabilities are unable to submit their SAT scores for this year, and as a result are given or had a disadvantage. So because of that, the courts have ordered that the UCs are not allowed to take into consideration the SAT or ACT for this year. But they are fighting this, and because it's so close to the application deadline, the application is due in 3 months from now, and it's way too close to really say no to the SAT and ACT, because at this point, 95% of students have already taken it, and it's way too close to the deadline to really say that you can't take it anymore for current seniors. So the UCs are fighting it, but as it stands, until any other further notice, you're not allowed to submit the SAT or ACT for the UCs.
But they're fighting it.
But they are fighting it, so that might change.
Yeah, that might change, and that should change, I think. Because, the kids have worked really hard, and, you cannot take that score away from them. They've spent a lot of time, and this is not only the first score they're giving. This might be the culmination of very many tests they've taken. Parents have spent money on it. It remains to be seen. It's unprecedented times, challenging times, and a lot of things are changing. But yet again, UCs or any kind of applications, give it your best. Work hard. Take these 4 years to be, a game that you have to play, and you have to play it very, very, very carefully, because everything matters at the end of it. Everybody, there's a dream college for you. There's the ways to reach it, and just work hard. At the end of it, it all depends upon how much are you putting in. Only then you would be able to get out of it something which is proportional to your effort. So work hard, take help if you need to, volunteer, ask around, serve the community. Serving always helps. Ask for internships. Internships is another thing which you can ask around, because not many people are interested giving high schoolers a chance to intern, but then there are ways and means to do that. Create your own channels. Right now, it is difficult to obviously go get an internship at a place, create your own channels. Take up any our community is doing a lot of, our kids are doing a lot of stuff nowadays, which is basically centered around the fact that they are creating their own opportunities to show to the college maybe that we're able to work for ourselves, or create an opportunity to volunteer here or intern for ourselves, or just be more just be more think outside the box, and you'll get there. And there's always help. You can always call us, and we're always there. We're yeah. And so I hope, if there are any questions, I'm just going to go ahead and see if there are any questions. If there are any questions, you guys can ask. One of the questions I see is, when you do AP course from community college, does it show on the HS, the high school script, transcript? It doesn't. But Raghav, would you like to say what you want to say?
So the community college transcript is a separate transcript. The courses do not carry over. So when it comes to applying to the UCs, we'll be submitting multiple. And they do expect to receive those by the deadline of July 1st. If you don't, they will rescind you. They will send you away. If your application, if you do not have the if you do not have the college transcript as well as your high school transcript, or there's inconsistencies with what you've reported and what the transcript actually shows, they will rescind you and they will take you away.
I think that's the only question I see.
There's another question. Does this Arthi Jane asked? Does the same apply to for SAT subject tests? At the moment, yes. For now, the SAT subject tests are blocked. Again, subject to change based on what the UC say. And at the moment, they are test optional. They will not improve your application, but UCs do use the SAT subject test, especially the math one, to place you into colleges. To place you into courses. For example, there's a track of series for math for STEM majors called the 20 series at the UCs. There's 5 courses in this, and you can skip some of those courses based on your AP credits and based on your SAT subject test score. For example, if you take AP Calculus BC in high school, you start the 20 series at 20C rather than at 20A or 20B. AP Calculus AB starts you at 20B, but you still have to do 20B. And again, taking AP courses in high school is extremely important. It may seem like a waste of time and a lot of effort then, but it does really help you save time and money in college, because almost all of your AP classes, if you're using them properly, can get you some form of AP credit based on the test, meaning you get college credit and can skip certain courses in college, making it easier on you so you can take less classes or you can graduate faster. Again, it depends on the college, it depends on the major, and it depends really on the AP classes you're taking. But you can really skip quite a few classes based off of them and not have to do your general education or the English, history, all of those classes. You can skip quite a few of them if you're taking AP classes coming into college.
That saves time, that saves money, that effort, everything. I mean, yeah. I think that's the only thing. Any more questions? We can take more questions if you'd like. I think that's it, though. I mean, everybody. Okay, and feel free to get in touch with us in case you want any explanation to what he said, and anything we can offer from our side. And thank you once again to OCIW Simaji for giving us this opportunity to be in front of the community once again. And you've kindled in us a spirit of service, and we